We will look at I2C communication protocol to some extent in detail in this class. I2C stands for Inter-Integrated Circuit. It's also called as two-wire communication protocol. So here we will learn how I2C communication is done or taking place in embedded systems. I2C connections or architecture in hardware is shown in this diagram. Here we are showing I2C bus connection because it's a group of lines SDA and SCL. SDA stands for serial data, SCL stands for serial clock. Now these two lines are spread over in an embedded system, let's say within a PCB. I2C lines are actually shared between a master device such as a microcontroller and multiple slave device or single slave device. So SDA of the microcontroller is connected to SDA of all the slave, whereas SCL of the microcontroller is also connected to SCL of all the slave. CL is clock, serial clock, DA is data, serial data. Now in addition, there are two pull-up resistors. This pull-up resistors because the other end of the resistor is connected to VDD, whereas one end of the resistor is connected to either SCL or SDA. Whenever there is no activity on the bus, let's say master is not sending, neither slave is sending, in such case, this lines SDA and SCL are both pulled up to VDD. So VDD may be 5 volt or 3.3 volt or 1.8 volt. It depends how the devices are designed in which technology node. Now, in case of I2C, SCL signal is always issued by the master. That means SCL signal is always coming out of the master and going inside the slave. So a slave SCL are all inputs, master SCL is always output. Whereas SDA is a bidirectional line. That means this can take both input and output at the master. Same thing, both input and output is DA lines for slave devices. Now I2C is slightly different than SPI because there is no chip select line over here or slave select line available in I2C. So I2C was originally used or developed by Philips Semiconductor in early 1980s, and this protocol later became very popular and people have started adopting I2C protocol in very widely in practice. Typically, data rates in I2C depend from 100 kilohertz to 400 kilohertz, and there are timing diagrams associated with I2C that we will see later on. I2C originally started with 100 kilohertz communication speed, whereas later on fast I2C came up where 400 kilohertz or even megahertz rate I2C signals are available in the market today. I2C is compatible with a wide range of sensors and peripherals that can be easily connected to a microcontroller device by using this I2C bus. Now, how do you determine which device or which slave device to be communicated through I2C? Because there is no chip select or slave select lines over here. Therefore, the only option that remains possibly is the software addressing scheme. That means each slave must have a software address, and that address should be sent to the slave first while selecting or enabling a device. So such software addressing scheme is done where we have 7-bit addressing mode. For example, here. So with 7-bit address, that means 2 to the power 7, 128 devices can be connected at max. So that means up to 128 slave devices can be connected onto these two lines for the I2C bus. That means using just 2 lines, up to 128 devices can be connected, which makes it very promising in terms of reduced number of lines for communication. Now at hardware level, so there are certain things that you should remember. So let's look at this block diagram. You can always read through this text. If you look at this block diagram, let's say the microcontroller is shown on the left and the peripheral device is shown on the right. Now SCL and SDA lines are connected. So SCL and SDA lines are both the lines are called open drain lines. Open drain means suppose there is a driver MOSFET and the MOSFET gate and MOSFET source are connected internally inside your peripheral or controller, whereas drain terminal of both the transistors on both sides of the bus are floating in general. But if you want to use use it for digital communication, you must have 1-0 transition. So for 0 transition, this MOSFET should be turned on. For 1 transition, who will do that? So that is actually passively connected. So that's why these pull-up resistors are necessary. So that means VDD is connected between across the terminal of the resistor across one of the terminals of the resistor. Now there are the clock generator circuit which is present in only in the controller, which is absent in the peripheral, whereas the data register and the logic circuitry and some other supporting circuitries like buffers are present on both controller and the peripheral devices. So this open drain concept along with pull-up resistor are compulsory in any I2C bus. So that means if you connect more than one peripheral device, so all the peripheral will have open drain. Whenever you want logic 0 to be communicated, you just turn on the transistor, and whenever you want to communicate logic 1, whether it may be controller to peripheral or other way, just leave the transistor off. As a result, the pull-up resistor comes into picture. Now the signal levels, so there could be different signal voltages for I2C. So VDD of the I2C devices like controller and peripherals should always be the same. So that means they should be compatible. So VDD is common. So although I2C is showing 2 buses, 2 lines in its bus, but in fact one I2C bus consists of 2 lines mainly, but in addition there must be a common ground which should be common between both peripheral and controller. In addition, there should be common VDD which should be same for both controller and the peripheral, in addition to the VDD connection of the pull-up resistors. So logic signal levels depends on what is the VDD level with respect to ground. So there are 1.8 volt I2C devices also available, but typically or most commonly used I2C VDD choice is 3.3 volt. So there are different chips available in the market, such as accelerometers to light sensors to memory devices. So in your remote control, so if we store a channel or if we store a settings for our television set, so the value goes to a memory chip via an I2C communication protocol. That means there are serial memory chips available where the device serial memory acts like a peripheral, and there is a microcontroller which can actually store your settings of your television set on a memory chip. So on a serial memory chip. I2C timing diagram is very important. It is somewhat complex as compared to SPI and UART, but it is not that complex also. So remember that you just have to understand the concepts in order to get the communication details or timing diagram of the I2C protocol. So let's look at 2 scenarios. One is general and other one is practical. So let's look at the general scenario first. So remember, there are several points to be grasped and memorized in case of I2C while doing the coding. So the I2C timing diagram looks somewhat like this. It has a start condition. It's not a start bit, it's a start condition. It has a stop condition, and between start and stop there are several things which are packed. First is the 7-bit address, and then second one is the read/write star signals, That means whether you want to do read or write operation through the bus in the next set of clock cycles. Then acknowledgement or no acknowledgement condition. So this is another condition where you can find whether the peripheral is acknowledging or the controller is acknowledging, or we can actually go without any acknowledgement. Further, there could be 8-bit data for read or write operation. That means 8-bit read is possible, 8-bit write is possible, but before reading or writing, you have to mention that which one you want to do. And then in addition, there are basically several packets of I2C, and each packet is typically I2C packet. Packets are typically 9 bits long. That means if you see any I2C packet of data, it has 9-bit information at least. Okay, so let's look at how the timing diagram looks like, and then we'll discuss more about this 9-bit stuff. In I2C, you can see that there are two lines, SDA and SCL, serial clock and serial data. And this condition first is within these dotted lines is called a start condition. So start condition is the one where the clock is held high and the data is going from high to low. So this condition is called start condition. Exactly opposite happens in the stop condition, where SCL is held high and SDA is going 0 to 1. So this start and stop are the exceptional conditions, and in between everything, in between start and stop doesn't follow this kind of thing. So your data should come first and then the clock. In this case, your data is coming first in start and stop condition, then the clock is coming. Then 8-bit data packet is there, or 9-bit data packet is there in this case. So the first 7 bits consist of address of your slave device or your peripheral device. So A6 to A0 indicates 7-bit address of the peripheral device. Now you first have to keep the data on SDA line, and then after some time you have to give a clock single half clock cycle or single clock cycle for SCL line or over the SCL line. So at the middle of every data duration, so data the SDA value is sampled by the other device. Now this first 9-bit information after the start, the start condition is generated by the microcontroller always, whereas this address and whatever happens within this first 9 bits always comes from the microcontroller and goes to all the peripherals. So here there is nothing like tri-stating the bus. So the bus is tri-stated if you turn off or if you invoke something tri-state condition through other means, but in general I2C address is received by all peripherals simultaneously. So whichever peripheral matches its own address with this particular 7-bit address will become enabled for subsequent data transmission, whether read or write. But if the address doesn't match, they will simply go into hibernate state or just off state, or it will never ignore, it will just wait for the stop condition if the address doesn't match. If the address matches whatever the controller is sending, your peripheral will be activated. Now look at this, there are 7-bit address followed by read/W bar or W star. So that means if you want to read from the peripheral, microcontroller wants to read data from the peripheral, it will keep it 1 in this bit location. Whereas if you keep 0 in this location, that means the controller is going to send data in the subsequent frame or 9-bit frame. Now this 7-bit address and read-write bar combined together is 8 bits. Now the 9th one is the acknowledgement bit. So this acknowledgement bit, so acknowledge or no acknowledge. So there are two conditions. So one condition in this position indicates that peripheral did not respond or unable to process the request. So that means if the peripheral receives something, then it will acknowledge and this acknowledge signal will go low. So that means it is actually acknowledge bar. So that is active low, acknowledge 9th bit information should come. If the acknowledge comes or doesn't come, so after that, so the clock remains low and the data remains high for some time. And then after some time, the data again comes. So based on read or write, so if it is read, the microcontroller will receive data. And if it is write, the microcontroller is going to send data over here. Okay. So assuming this read is 1, so that means peripheral is sending to the microcontroller. Now you can use 8 bits consecutively, D7 first in this case, exactly opposite as UART, and after that until D0 you can send 8-bit information. Suppose if you have to send 16-bit or 32-bit information, you have to send multiple such packets repeatedly before the stop condition. Now, assuming there is acknowledgement again, so this acknowledgement comes from the microcontroller. So whoever receives sends the acknowledgement, and whoever sends just read the acknowledgement. Okay. So in this case, this acknowledgement was sent by the peripheral device. So after this read condition, and if read means this data came from peripheral, and the peripheral data is acknowledged. So that means this acknowledgement, second acknowledgement, comes from microcontroller to the peripheral device. And once your data transmission packets are over, or multiple 9-bit packets are over, then you generate a stop condition. That means SCL is held high, and then you go 0 to 1 for the SDA signal. So this is how I2C timing diagram looks like. Now, if you have a write operation, keep this bit as 0, 8-bit 0, and then there will be acknowledgement from the peripheral, and then subsequent bits will come from microcontroller and go to the peripheral, and then acknowledgement, if it is right, acknowledgement comes from peripheral. If this was read, acknowledgement would have come from the controller. Let's look at a practical example of an I2C interface. I2C interfacing chip such as OPT3001 is an ambient light sensor chip which is available from Texas Instruments. So this device actually uses this particular circuit diagram. So it has a VDD line, SCL SDA line, then interrupt line. So this is optional, it is not necessary. And there is a hardware address line. So also there is 7-bit address inside. So the I2C devices will always follow this 7-bit addressing scheme. But one of those address bits, it may be A0 or A6, it depends. So for a given chip, so the manufacturer determines some part of the address can be configured by the user. Now ADDR bit, we can ignore this for the time being. Interrupt bit, which is going from the OPT to microcontroller, can also be ignored. Just concentrate upon SCL and SDA. And there are 2 pull-up resistors. Ignore the 3rd resistor because it is connected to open drain of interrupt pin. And we are not using interrupt in this example. So here is the practical writing timing diagram. So if you want to write something to the OPT chip, so that means the microcontroller digital processor is writing in information to the OPT chip. So this is a sensor. What is the need of writing? The need of writing exists because there are several registers inside this peripheral device, and those registers should be initialized. And what is there exactly inside OPT? So there is a photodiode which receives light information. Then there is a programmable gain amplifier. So it just enhances the signal coming from the photodiode. In fact, it is not just PGA. There is a transimpedance amplifier followed by programmable gain amplifier. After that, there is an ADC which converts analog voltage to digital data, and the digital data gets stored inside some registers, and those registers are read by the SCL and SDA lines by the microcontroller outside the chip, outside this sensor chip. Now, assuming I want to initialize this, so what speed, what gain, and or some other parameters, such as basically I want to initialize the speed of communication. I want to initialize basically whether I want to use this interrupt or not. So there could be multiple features that can be activated or deactivated by using this write operation. So in order to write something to this microcontroller, from microcontroller to this peripheral device, OPT3001 chip, we'll have to follow this thing. But while following, we will actually comply to the same strategy that we discussed over here: 9-bit, first start bit, then 7-bit address, read write, acknowledgement, then another frame of data or more frames of data, then stop. So following that strategy, let's look at it, how it does the write operation. So first it skips the SCL 1, and then SDA goes 1 to 0, that is start condition. Then it will write 7-bit address. So this address, basically certain bits of the address in OPT is fixed and certain bits can be programmed. Typically this ADDR bit programs A0 bit and A1 can be software written, or there are some initial default value of this A1 inside this sensor. Now you have to follow the pattern, whatever is given for this 7-bit address, so such that you can select a particular OPT, assuming there could be multiple OPT sensors connected to SCL SDA lines, and then there is a 9-bit, 8-bit is write operation. So read/write bar, as I said earlier. So they kept the 8-bit. So this is first bit, and then the 8-bit is write part, that means logic 0, and after that the acknowledgement comes. So acknowledgement, peripheral is sending acknowledgement. I say that the first, this clock is always generated by the microcontroller, and the data could be, and the first frame comes from microcontroller. Second onwards, it may be either microcontroller or peripheral. Now whoever receives the data, that means OPT in this case, sends acknowledgement, and this is acknowledgement bar signal. Now write operation was initiated. That means then it will send the second 9-bit frame, I2C frame, which is register address. So there are multiple registers inside I2C chip, peripheral chip, and this is the 8-bit register address. So the register will select, register address will select any one of the registers, whatever we want to do the writing operation subsequently. Now after the register address, all 8 bits are transferred. Again, acknowledgement is sent by the OPT in the during the 9th bit. Again, another frame comes. Then there is a 16-bit data which is again sent from microcontroller to the register wherever whoever's address was selected earlier. So this is a 16-bit data, but it is framed into 8 bits and 8 bits separately. So the most significant byte, D15 to D8, has been sent, and then there is acknowledgement. So this data is coming from microcontroller and going to the OPT sensor chip. Then there is an acknowledgement followed by D7 to D0 data, followed by another acknowledgement by OPT, and then stop condition as we discussed earlier. So this is how we are going to write a 16-bit data. So first we send address and with the read-write information, and then we send address of the register where we want to do the writing operation. Then we perform 16-bit write to the OPT chip. Similar to read, similarly read operation can also be invoked. So in this case, in the read operation, assuming I have written to some register initialized already, and now I want to do read. So if you want to change from read to write or write to read, you have to obviously apply a stop condition in between. Otherwise, it will remember the previous read or write condition. So assuming this stop condition came, and then after stop, another start condition came. So I2C start condition came, and then you have to send the same address because you are communicating to the same chip. So you have to send the same address, but in this case, read is 1. Read/write bar pin is 1. That means 8-bit is 1. Earlier it was 0. Now there is an acknowledgement by OPT. Then the data should come from OPT chip to microcontroller chip. So D15 to D8 comes because it's 16-bit data available, which is going from peripheral to microcontroller. So D15 to D8 followed by acknowledgement by master, because microcontroller has received the data from OPT because it is reading, microcontroller is reading the data. So OPT sends the data and the microcontroller should acknowledge it to the OPT chip, acknowledgement by master. Then followed by another 8-bit, and then in the read condition, there is no acknowledgement condition by the master. That means the master has received and it is no longer caring about what to send the acknowledgement. It's like forget to send you thank you message. So no acknowledgement signal comes from master and it to the peripheral. That means after that there is a stop condition. So this reading operation can be done. If you follow this timing diagram and write your code to satisfy either using GPIO lines or using the I2C module inside the microcontroller, you can actually access this particular chip. And similarly, this timing framing pattern will change. Somewhere there will be 10-bit data, somewhere there will be 8-bit data, somewhere there will be 24-bit data. So the actual frame, 9-bit frame will be same. Only thing, the pattern or the arrangement of the frames will change from the second frame onwards. That means first frame pretty much looks the same, with some minor changes in the address or read write, but subsequently the second, third, fourth, or even more beyond fourth, are customized for a given I2C peripheral chip. Now a modern version of I2C has come, which is called QWIAC. It is a quick system. So quick connect system is an ecosystem of various chips and solutions, such as sensors, actuators, different types of Arduino boards, different types of cables, which helps developers to prototype with I2C faster. Because to program this kind of thing, it is easy, but not straightforward, because you have to keep track of so many things, unless you have a very intelligent processor or the module itself is intelligent. Now, to make the module I2C module intelligent, people have come out with this quick connect system, where a common set of connectors, whereas some easy to use guidelines are evolved, where you can easily adopt I2C communication without going much deeper into this read write or address or acknowledge or no acknowledgement conditions. So this quick connect system is a new evolution, and you'll gradually see more and more devices with quick connect system. In practically, it is an I2C, but there are some simplification factors that they have come up with codes and hardware in order to address this problem.